We have the UnlockNJHomes television show today that we have going on here, UnlockNJHomes TV. I want to introduce everyone to Cathy Haddad here. I want to start off by saying thank you for all tuning in, everybody for tuning in. Right here, we are really honored over here because it's a very rare occasion where we got someone, like Cathy, with her caliber on our page over here right now. So it's really exciting. She's amongst top ranked mortgage originators with Forbes. So amongst the best mortgage lenders in the entire game. Anytime we've ever done a deal together, it's been quick, smooth. It's just been an awesome experience working with Cathy. But let's start off with this. You mind telling everyone a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me today with you guys. And first and foremost, I hope everyone is home, safe, and healthy. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name again is Cathy Haddad, and I am with Atlantic Home Loans. I've been with Atlantic Home Loans 12 of the 17 years that I've been in the business. And hopefully I'll be able to give everyone some insight today to give you guys information about the mortgage world and how the coronavirus has impacted us and how we're continuing to do business in these crazy times.
So speaking of the coronavirus, how has it been affecting your business?
Yeah, so I mean, Atlantic Home Loans, the good news is a digital company where we do a lot of technology. So most of our business was really done online anyway. And most of our employees have always worked from home. They were always set up to work remotely on snow days or, because we're paperless. So we really weren't impacted or delayed in that sense. Our turn times are still the same. We're able to turn pre-approvals around very quickly. We're still able to close loans on our end very quickly. Where we're finding some delays is on the other end, as far as, inspections and closings being able to be scheduled. How are they going to do a closing? Are they able to do it virtually and so forth? So those kinds of delays have put us back a little bit, but I think that business is still able to be done as long as you're able to set expectations up front, understand everything up front as far as, are you going to be able to do inspections? How are we going to be able to get our title work and close? Talk about those things up front before a client starts the mortgage process and locks in an interest rate, because then that'll alleviate any delays and everyone's expectations are set and everyone knows what to expect.
Interesting. So, I mean, while other lenders out right now are kind of starting to steer away or actually start to stir up a little fear amongst their clients in these crazy times, you guys have been pretty geared towards this whole situation, and you've been well equipped prior to this even becoming a reality to us.
Yeah, I mean, guidelines have definitely tightened up more than ever. There are a lot of clients that were pre-approved weeks ago that no longer qualify in these times because of the fact that investors have really pulled back and they're starting to relook at what they consider is a good loan. And so I think every industry, any mortgage company that tells you they haven't been faced with any of this, loans qualifications being tightened up, they probably just don't realize it, or it just hasn't hit them yet. And so at the end of the day, I always say we drink from the same well. So, guidelines are going to be the same across the board. It's just working with an expert is going to be more important than ever, because we have the ability to look at all the options up front, understand the guidelines, and before we put a client under contract, we're making sure that, like, for example, I had one yesterday where a client had a 638 credit score that now FHA guidelines have changed to 640, and that client needed an updated pre-approval letter. So we went back to the client, explained to them the situation. Luckily, I was able to rerun their credit, and their credit score luckily had gone up those 2 points, and we were able to make the pre-approval and get the loan pre-approved and send it over so we can give everyone peace of mind, because the last thing we want to do is send out pre-approvals to a client that no longer qualifies,
Exactly. I mean, right now, the last thing we want to do is start giving out pre-approvals to people that are unqualified right now, especially in these times right now, because, last thing we want to do is, especially as agents, is run around go show these, show these people properties after properties and after properties just to find out that they're not qualified. With this whole social distancing happening and everything, that's the last thing we want to do. You know what I mean?
And so what I'm suggesting is for anyone that has a pre-approval from a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you should be calling the lender and confirming with them that due to the guideline changes, has anything impacted them? Are they still going to be able to get a loan? Can you update the pre-approval to today's date? Because that's going to make a big difference. For those who are informed are going to be better off knowing what can and can't be done so they can actually get to the finish line.
Interesting. So what do you think is gonna, what do you think, how do you think this is gonna affect us in the long run?
It's hard to say. I think that there is a lot more damage that's been done in such a short period of time that it's going to take a little bit of time for the mortgage industry to be able to overcome this. But I think overall, if you look at the MBA forecast, they're stating that our second and third quarter and purchase business is going to basically be non-existent for the most part, but there's still going to be transactions being made. But they're stating that in the fourth quarter, we're going to be in rebound, and 2021 is expected to be just like we were a few weeks ago before this pandemic. So that's really encouraging to let everyone know that, this is something that is temporary. We will come out of this stronger than ever. It's just a matter of how quickly, how much we can adapt to the changes temporarily. And what kind of damage that's been done. There will be some that won't come out of this on the other side, but companies like ourselves and others that have a lot of capital and have the ability to adapt in these types of environments will come out on the other side and stronger than ever.
Makes sense. It makes sense. I've been reading online about the forbearance that they're doing right now, and how you think that's going to affect us?
Yeah, so I think that putting out accurate information is more critical than ever, because when I turn on my Facebook sometimes, I almost want to just turn it off because it's so much fake information and so much information that's misinforming clients, and they're going to really put themselves in a very difficult situation. And even the news, I think sometimes they're not really giving people the specifics. And one of the things I've been saying in a couple of these other videos is they really need to understand the facts and pick up the phone and call your servicer if you truly can't make your payment, and understand the differences and what will happen after month 4. Because what a lot of people don't realize with these loan forbearances is that after month 4, all the previous 3 months will become due at one shot, which most people don't have that ability. So what does that mean to them? Are they then going to be late? Is this going to affect their credit? Are they going to have to, what if they can't make up the difference? What are their options? And so picking up the phone, getting on the phone with your servicer and understanding what it is, and not only getting on the phone with them, but getting it in writing is more important than ever. Because once we come out of this on the other side, if you don't have anything to back it up and you have a late on your credit, just imagine the hundreds of thousands of people that you're going to be in the same boat that are trying to get these lates removed off of their credit. It's going to be close to impossible. And if it does happen, it's going to take months, if not years, for them to finally be able to recover from this damage that it's done on their credit.
Yeah, delaying everything, telling people to, being able to delay everything is probably going to be very problematic and everything in the long term. Just because, just naturally people tend to just push put things on the side, on the side, and just having all this being, piling up in the long run and everything, not paying the mortgage, being stuck and just having it delayed for as long as, they're going to be delaying it for, it's just going to cause nothing but problems in the long run.
Absolutely. And if you can make your payments, I would advise, this is your biggest asset. You should make your payments if you can, because the more people that are not making their payments, the more impact this is going to have on mortgage companies and how they're going to come out on the other side of this. And so as a community, I think that we want to try and save this mortgage industry as much as possible by, encouraging people to make your payments if you can. And if you can't, then you should definitely call and understand your options and know what you're getting yourself into.
Makes a lot of sense. It makes total sense. Hold on. So actually my team members actually just finally got in here. Do you guys have any questions for Cathy? You guys are all allowed to talk now.
I don't have anything specific right now. How you doing, Cathy?
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
That's Sally, Brittany, Albert.
Hi, Cathy. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great, you know.
Hey. Oh, it feels weird to just have my voice being here. But we're watching you.
Hey, it's so funny when you hear your voice, it sounds so different. I'm like, do I really sound like that?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Guys, Victor is actually in the room as well from Clear Skies Title.
Oh, hey.
Hey,
Hey,
Victor.
how's it going, guys? Cathy, I
Hey,
do have a
Victor.
question.
Sure.
I guess specifically in regards to jumbo loans, since Wells Fargo had that I guess the new release date where they will require something like $250,000 before they'll do refis for jumbo loans.
Yeah.
How is that going to impact your bank, your company, and what do you see will be the implications for other lenders?
Yeah, so I mean, jumbo loans have definitely tightened up. They're one of the types of loans that now the requirements have become very difficult for people to get approved. And, you know, Wells Fargo did announce that they're no longer lending on correspondent, that was one of our investors that we use for our jumbo lending. They've actually temporarily stopped lending on jumbo. In the meantime, just until things settle down, the good news is we have, you know, working with a company like Atlantic Home Loans, when one investor goes away, we have 30 more to choose from. So if that was our only area where we can do our jumbo business, we would be in big trouble today. But luckily, you know, we are set up for this type of environment. We've been there before in 2008. And so we have plenty of other investors that are willing and able to lend in jumbo. However, some of their guidelines have definitely tightened up. So when you do have a borrower, especially in the jumbo world, and they're look for a home, they really need to get an updated pre-approval and understand what their options are, because some cases, the minimum down payment requirements have gone up to 20% for most of our investors now, where before a jumbo loan, people can get a loan as little as 5 to 10% down. And that is basically going away, and it's requiring even more reserves. So someone who previously only needed, let's say, 6 months reserves, they're now requiring double that, sometimes triple that, depending if they own several properties. And so it really has changed, but it's something that I think will eventually come back. The question becomes, how long is that going to take? Is it going to be right after we go back to normal, or could it take a year for the banks to recover from the problems that they're going to be faced with? Just think about how many people are going to foreclose, how many people are not making their payments for the next 6 months. That impact is a really bad one for the mortgage industry. And especially one of the things that puts a mortgage company under is a first payment default. So if we close loans, and in that time frame, by the time they close, and if that client loses their job and they can't make their first payment, that is an automatic buyback to a mortgage lender. So all of that money sits back on their line, and it affects the ability for them to continue to lend. So that is one of the biggest threats right now that the mortgage industry holds. And we've been even having where most of our investors are requiring a same-day verification of employment, where previously we would be able to do it a week before closing and it was no issue. Now we're doing it on the day of closing to make sure that these clients still have a job and that they can hopefully make their first payment, because that is one of the biggest, most important single factors for a mortgage company to stay alive in this environment.
Thank you.
You're
That's really
welcome.
helpful.
All right. Joey Chan actually just asked, are you guys still loaning for 203?
Interesting question. So as of last week, we temporarily put them on hold. However, we are going to have the ability to start lending again. As far as what the interest rates will be, that should be interesting. I don't know what that's going to look like in the 203K, which is basically a renovation loans for anyone that doesn't know what that is. It's when someone is looking to buy a home that is in disarray, that needs repair, and they want to finance in the renovations into the loan. those loans are one of the riskiest loans that are out there. And a lot of the investors have temporarily put that on hold as far as what they'll allow to lend. Again, Atlantic Home Loans is in the position where we have so many investors that there are still some that are willing. We're just making sure that we understand the risk and that we are okay with everything before we make the determination to roll it back out. But what's not guaranteed is what is the interest rate going to look like for that client? Are they going to have to pay points? Because high coupon rates right now are just not, there's no buyers for it. So the higher the interest rate is, the lower the premiums are for anyone to really make any commissions. And so it's really driving the way of we usually price things in a much more difficult situation. Yep. Are we there?
Very interesting.
Yep. I think
He is with she's under New Jersey, but she also does cover New York City as well. She is incredible. I think I'm breaking up.
Yeah, you
bit.
are a little bit. Oh, I think we're losing Chris.
Hold on one sec. So
Sure. While you're breaking up, I can maybe bring up a few things. So something else that I've been telling just outside of, not necessarily.
Sorry, guys. Comcast is.
Oh.
All right, cool. Yeah, whatever you want to bring up, feel free to bring up, if you have another topic that you want to bring into this.
Yeah, sure. I just figured I'd mention something while you were getting back on. So one of the things that I've been looking into myself and suggesting to my friends and family and clients and realtor friends is that, this is the time for us to really reevaluate our expenses more than ever. And so this is a good opportunity for all of us to contact our phone carriers, our home insurance, our our auto loans, refinancing. Look at the options to see what you can do to try and bring your expenses down. I was telling someone the other day, myself personally, I've had my cell phone since I was 18 years old, not to show my age, but God, many years later, I've had the same exact plan and it was $150. And then I basically said, you know what, I'm going to call and see what I can do to try and renegotiate. And I looked at a promotional thing online. It was $79.99. And I said, why can't I get $79.99? And I'm paying $150. And I've been with you guys since I was 18, which is a long time now. And so they were able to redo my package. And now I brought my payments down and, I'm saving myself a lot of money. And that goes with my homeowners as well. This is something we should be doing on a yearly basis anyway, but life gets in the way. We get so busy and it becomes really difficult for us to do the things that we should do on a normal basis. But this could be a good time for us to try and bring your expenses down. And, even with your cable as well, renegotiate that. I renegotiated our cable bill as well. So it's a good time to do that.
No, I was telling people the same exact thing, with this, the situation that we're in right now, it's a very rare case where we actually have an opportunity. How often do you tell yourselves that, like, look, I'm going to spend some more time at home. I can be so much more productive at home doing this and that. But, how often are we actually given an opportunity to actually do so, and the fact that we're actually forced to have this opportunity right now, be able to make the best out of the situation is definitely, key. And how we end up out, after this is all over is going to speak in loud, very loud, loud volumes.
Yeah. And I mean, I was saying, we're not perfect. We're going to have good days and bad days. For the most part, I try and get up and have a smile on my face every day. But, I've had moments in these last, couple weeks where I've had breakdowns and I was, second guessing myself and, having like a mental breakdown. And ultimately, what I've come out of this is that we're not perfect. We're going to have bad days. We're going to have days that we're going to be afraid and we don't know what the unknown is. And when you're a type of person who's so much in control of your life, and when you lose control, it could really affect your mental health. And, I've done things like go for a walk, just sit alone for a minute, have a cup of coffee, do the things that you actually enjoy. And if you need to go buy some flowers because flowers bring joy to your life, then do those things, because mental health is so critically important and we really lose sight of that. And
I
it can
agree.
have an impact on us and put us into a deep depression. So do the things that you enjoy and feel good about it.
I have a quick question, if you guys don't mind.
Yes.
So you mentioned, I think you made a great point. Like, I've also been paying for my phone since I was 18. And so it's like, why don't I deserve better rates? Can you do the same for your credit cards as well? Because I was, all this time I've been spending, I'm actually looking at my interest charges and they're ridiculous because I actually do a great job at paying them off. But I think I just haven't negotiated in so long. It's like from a credit card I took out when I was like 20, 21. So could I ultimately do the same thing?
Whoa.
Oh, that was interesting. Okay, I think I got the gist of your question. Yes, I would call absolutely and try and renegotiate maybe the interest on the loan, how much they're charging you in interest, get on a payment plan, something that you can absolutely renegotiate. They want you to continue.
Sorry guys, connection issues.
We there? I don't know. Did you hear my response?
I did.
Okay, great. Yeah. So that's ultimately what I would definitely do. This is the time when we have time.
Yeah, we're there.
The worst they can say is no,
We're having connection issues.
If they say yes, I would tell them, listen, I'm going to have trouble paying right now. This is what I can pay you. Can you lower my interest? Because I want to try and, get rid of this debt. And sometimes they will work with you in most cases because they don't want to stop paying.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind sharing how much I have, but like, just to show you, it's like the minimum payment is probably $40 and the interest is like 80.
Yeah, it'll take you 40 years.
And I've done a great job at paying it off. So I'm like, why am I being charged this? It's ridiculous.
Definitely. I would call and try to renegotiate your interest because, if you do the math on that, usually most credit cards are 20, 25% interest. That'll take you 40 years making the minimum payments. Just imagine the amount of interest that you've paid over the 40 years, how much that could be in your own bank account, you could be building on for your own wealth. So absolutely, this is the time to focus on those things. And, I say the worst they can say is no.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to take out the time and really write down everything you're spending. Like, where is my money being taken out from? I have everything on auto pay. So it's just like, you miss a couple things and you really and it's like, who else is checking for it? You have to take care of your finances yourself.
Totally. Yeah.
Auto pay is a very dangerous thing.
It is a very especially now.
Yeah.
So speaking of payments and everything, people are going to be getting their stimulus checks. If they haven't gotten it already, they're going to be getting it very, very soon. So do you have any suggestions on what people should be doing with these checks?
Paying your bills, and if putting it in reserve. I mean, one thing that I think we've all learned from this is that we really got to be able to build a couple months reserves for ourselves to cover all our expenses, that in the event that something like this happens, that we're fully protected and we have our own reserve to be able to get us through difficult times. And if you can, try and use that check to either pay your bills or build yourself some reserve, because this isn't the last time that we're going to be faced with something like this. It could be a different scenario. I mean, nobody ever thought that, a coronavirus could completely shut down our worlds like the way it did. But it's just another way of, when difficult times that we're faced with, we need to be financially prepared for that, so that when the event something like this happens, we're stressed. Obviously, we don't want to tack into our savings. We see our savings go down, but at least we know that we can stay in our homes. We can keep our cars. We don't have to worry about, anyone taking something away from us during these difficult times.
Yeah, luckily crime has gone down by a pretty large margin.
Really?
Throughout these crazy times.
Well, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are some benefits of it. I mean, at the same time, articles are out right now saying, this, people being forced to stay inside right now. This been extremely beneficial towards, our environment because people aren't killing, our environment right now throughout this.
Totally. I
The
think
cars
families
aren't going
are
around.
coming together, I know for myself, I've been spending so much time having virtual dinners with people that live across the country that I'm like, why didn't we do this before? Like, it's really brought out some amazing things that I think, it's also brought a lot of us to become more humble. I feel like there has been a lot of people that, thought they were invincible, untouchable. And now, the fact that it's impacted everybody in some shape or form, it's created this way of people becoming more humble and appreciative of what they have and others that are in their lives as well.
Interesting. No, I agree with that 100%. It's just, I've been taking a lot of time just to really just make the most out of this. As many of you know, I've been studying throughout this process itself and all stuff. This is like one of the rare times where we really get to just really hone in and just trying to just reevaluate the game plan, come back, re-strategize, and just come out strong. Like I said before, how we end up after this and all stuff is going to speak in very loud volumes, because of the fact is, like, we've never been given this much this much time to really just put all the pieces back into play. And I think we're going to all come out much stronger because of this.
Totally. I think we're going to I think anyone that comes out of this is going to be stronger than ever. And it's going to be, in some cases, a new way of doing business. And in a lot of ways, it's also, exciting to have change and to be able to adapt and to do things differently. It maybe opened up our eyes to some things. Like, I think virtual closings are going to become more and more popular now, which is great. I mean, for people to be able to close at the convenience of their own home and not having to go to a settlement table and sit down, and which you'll still have that option as well. But it's just some really cool things that I think that are going to come out of this in the end that we're going to really appreciate. And, it's going to become our new normal.
Yeah, for sure. We have one question from Alexandra Estevez. What kind of verification are they considering if jobs are not open, but worker is still getting paid and working from home?
Yeah, if they're still getting paid and they're working from home, but their office is closed, they're technically still employed. So that would be considered as someone who's employed. It's people that are furloughed or that are laid off that are no longer getting paid are the ones that unfortunately will not be able to close.
Okay. As someone who's been here since 2000, who's been here since the last recession, how is this similar and how's this different?
It feels similar in a lot of ways as far as lending tightening up, but it's also very different in a lot of ways as far as the way that this has impacted people in different ways. For example, in the recession, you can still get out of your house and work 20 hours to try and get, a few buyer deals or a few listings, and things were coming down, prices were going down. But at least you were still able to work. Where in this type of environment, people are really forced to stay home and not work. So people like myself who are control freaks, it's kind of mentally challenging in some ways. But it also is similar in the sense that now we just have to think smarter, be smarter about it, adapt to the change, accept the change, and that the things that you just are out of your control, you really have to do the best you can to just accept it and embrace it and know that this is temporary. I literally had to tell myself that yesterday, by the way. So I'm over here sitting here telling everyone what they should be doing. Mind you, I was like having a breakdown yesterday, but it's all we can really do. And there's going to be people that are going to foreclose. But what may not happen is the unknown is, what is it going to do to home prices? I've been reading so many articles that there's articles that are saying that real estate is going to even go up even more now because the demand is going to be so high. It's been pent up demand. And then I've been hearing that real estate's going to go down because of look what happened in 2008. So that's the unknown. But I think that one thing I do know is that when this is all over, that real estate was not the cause of this, right? Where in 2008, real estate was the direct correlation, the direct cause of what happened. And one thing's for sure, just a few weeks ago, real estate was booming. I know my business was booming. I mean, I did like over $50 million of pre-approvals in the month of February, which was insane. We closed, $12 million, and it was amazing. And then all of a sudden, the second week of March, it was like, whoa, what just happened here? And that's one thing that I will say is definitely different, is that this is not a real estate direct cause. This was a virus that unfortunately stopped many different industries, not just real estate, from coming to a complete standstill. So those are the differences.
For sure, for sure. And then, what I've noticed, and my associate Albert's in here also right now, he'll tell you the same thing, that buyers haven't stopped at this point. For whatever reason it is, they're not fearful at all. Especially our client over here, Mr. McGovern. We've been getting clients approved for some incredible deals, especially with this time and all stuff. The rates have dropped substantially, and they're lower than the last time I can remember, if I can recall. If you can clarify that.
Yeah, they're the lowest they've ever been. I mean, even through these times where we've had some really crazy volatility over the last couple of weeks, we've been having 1% to 2% swings in just the day. But now I think things have really leveled off, and the rates are still in the low to mid threes. So it's a great time to buy. And you're right. I think the buyers that are looking now are still very serious, and a transaction can be done. You just got to have the right team in place. I will tell you, I have a transaction now with an attorney, and they just are making every obstacle so complicated to try and figure out how to close a loan. And I tell you, like, having the right attorneys right now is just as critical as having the right lender, because we're over here giving all these solutions of how to get this closing done. We have a guy who's stuck in Maryland on a shutdown. He can't leave. So we have proposed doing a way of getting a virtual notary in Maryland, because it's acceptable, and having the attorney there with them on FaceTime to close the loan. He's refusing to do that. So it just shows you that you really got to have the right team of people in place now to make a transaction get to the finish line, because if you don't, they're going to find every reason to not close your loan or close your sale. And it's going to make everything become even more stressful, that you might as well just close your doors, not even write any business right now, if we're going to have the wrong people in place, because it's so critical right now.
George, actually just asking this in the chat box. I called my bank to request a rate reduction on my mortgage, and they told me they're not offering this now. What is the procedure to make something like this happen?
A refinance. If you still qualify and you're employed and you can qualify, we have been so busy with refinancing clients right now, and we don't have those restrictions that some of the big banks have. A lot of big banks even stopped doing refinances. We're still doing them, and stronger than ever, and closing them in 3-4 weeks time. So if you are looking to refinance and you have a job, then definitely give me a call, and I'm happy to lower your interest rate.
Awesome. Yeah, just going back to the last topic that you were bringing up, just that you were discussing, just in general itself, just the way the whole market's been and everything. Like I said before, for whatever reason it is, the market hasn't slowed down, and the market's been pretty active. I think showings have dropped a little bit when it comes to specific properties, just mainly because sellers are, a little bit more adamant about letting people into their houses, especially if it's not a renovated property, it's not vacant. But outside of that, buyers have been extremely active, and so right now, with everything being in play right now, do you still recommend buyers to start to continue to buy?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we are still doing a lot of purchases. There has been a lot of roadblocks. So one thing that we have to do is set expectations up front. But yes, we can still lend in this environment. Again, it's really important to have the right team of people in place more than ever, and to really set expectations of these buyers, to let them know that the guidelines are ever changing, and they will continue to change all the way throughout the process. And there's always that risk that in this process, that buyer can still lose their job. So as long as we set those expectations and we put them in place with the right team of people that know how to get things done and do it in a legal way, then I highly encourage it. I think this is the best time to do it because you don't have as much competition. The interest rates are lower than ever, and you may get yourself a good deal. So there's no reason why I would say that someone should not buy in this environment. But let's be realistic about it and understand that there's going to be roadblocks, and that doing business now is not going to be the way it was done 3 weeks ago. Like every single one of my transactions, there's been a snag that came up. And it may not necessarily be on our end. It could be on the attorney's end or the title company's end or the seller's end or the buyer's end. You know, there's just every day, it's like we're literally putting out fires every day, problem solving, trying to get to the finish line is so much more difficult than it was a few weeks ago, but very doable. If, you know, you just got to have the strength.
I mean, it's a combination of having the strength and having the right team in play. More than right now, more than ever, especially. I can tell you right now that, speaking of your experiences, just dealing with a bad attorney right now on the other end who's literally causing problems on every end. I've personally been through that myself, and we've been through those situations multiple times. And as a selling agent, primarily as a selling agent, I can tell you right now that, obviously we don't have full control on what loan officer comes on the other side. And, we've dealt with situations where, I actually dealt with a situation last year where there was a loan officer on the deal and we were about a week past closing. And for some reason at that particular point, he had no idea that we were a flip property. And he was like, "Oh, we got to order a second appraisal now because the client's an FHA and the selling agent and the buying agent never told me that this is a flip." I was like, "You didn't do your research?"
Yeah, I mean, it should come up on the appraisal and title work. That's when you catch it.
Yeah, it's some of the craziest things you've seen, and
100%. I mean, and so when you're dealing with a lender that is already mediocre, just imagine trying to deal with them in this kind of environment. I mean, I consider myself to be a pretty great expert at what I do, and I'm having challenges, and I'm like sometimes
she's being
questioning
humble.
like, what is going on here?
She is totally being humble, guys.
No, yeah, seriously. Like anytime I've ever needed anything, Cathy has, she's returned my phone calls, my text messages, my clients are always in great hands. I've never had that concern at all since
Thank
Chris
you
introduced me. So I will.
so much. And we have one going right now that, I mean, so far so good,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm super excited. It's like Chris said, it's been nonstop. I have literally haven't had a day off. I think anytime, like you said, this is a unique opportunity for everyone to develop themselves, and keep their mental health, as healthy as can be, because very, very easily you can lose yourself, and your purpose and everything, just kind of staying stagnant, so like for me, I feel like it's important to, like you said, you have the right people in play and everybody working together to make the deal happen. And so far, it's been absolutely incredible, the experience.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We cannot stress how important it is to have the right people in play. I tell people all the time, obviously, us agents and all the stuff, we have a certain role in the business itself when it comes to just making sure all the pieces go into the right play. But like I've told Albert, I've told my team multiple times that, the people that we have, the people that represent our clients, our lenders, our attorneys, they're pretty much more important than even us, because of the fact of the matter is, if one of them slips up, the entire deal could literally fall apart just because of that. I had a deal a couple of weeks ago when we finally closed on one of my listings. And, we had a lender that literally just kept on bragging. The first thing the guy actually told me was to kiss his ass at some point, or shove it up my ass, or whatever it was. And, this is after him bragging about how he's like the best loan officer in the game. How he's like, I'm going to make all your clients so much money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Come to find out, like that, when I actually called the mortgage company itself that was supposed to, loan the money, the lenders, when I actually called the lender specifically, what's it called? They told me that he dropped the ball and never even sent it the package.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we're sitting here 2 weeks past closing. Their client is about to lose $50,000 potentially, just because of all the damages. We were so behind, so behind and everything. And, like I said before, the people that you work with specifically matter so much and everything. That's why I'm really, really blessed to be working with the best team in the market.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, especially now with the ever changing, every day there's a new guideline change or a new overlay or a new lender that's no longer in the business. And to try and keep up with that is very, very difficult. And to try and comprehend these guidelines is a whole different ballgame. And so, with us, that's one of the things that I've always stood out is that, not only that I keep up with the changes in the guidelines and can adapt, but I also know how to interpret things in the way that they should be for the most part, because a lot of it is discretion. And some people can really not necessarily understand what this guideline is saying or what it means or represents. And, I've been so blessed to have such an amazing team behind me that we just literally every day we've been working 15-hour days to make sure that everybody is taken care of. And, working with teams like you guys is just such a blessing because you guys are on top of it as well. And constantly, I never have to worry about you guys not doing your part, and it's great to work with a team like you.
The best thing in the world to me is having the best having incredible communication without even having to say a word. It's like we're just constantly on a beat. We just expect, we have certain expectations of each other, and it doesn't even have to be, it never has to be discussed. It's just like, I know Cathy's gonna be on the gun. I know as soon as I hand that deal over, as a matter of fact, when we closed record deal in Springfield, I was completely mind blown because I had the appraisal set up before I had, before the inspection set was even set up.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before, and the fact of the matter is like, I literally got off the phone with the inspector. They're like, well, we're going to come here on Monday. Literally the second I hung up the phone, I get a call from the appraiser.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just crazy. Efficiency is absolutely everything, especially when you're dealing with, specific clients and everything who are very, very on point with, when it comes to their detail. Bringing in someone like Cathy and, bringing in these incredible people behind us, stuff, and her team, it really does a lot for us and does a lot for our clients. And they walk out feeling extremely comfortable, which allows us to have these incredible reviews and which allows us to be able to get, these incredible recommendations to, these referrals from these past clients to other clients.
100%. And, I was saying like structuring deals right now is going to be the biggest challenge for most loan officers. So, again, working with someone that is really good and excels at this in general is going to surpass anyone in this type of environment because they know how to put deals together and make them work and get to the finish line. And that's just one of the challenges and the things that we have to accept and be able to, again, work with the right team of people.
The strong survives.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually want to introduce you to Prisca also. She actually worked with Victor at Clear Skies as well. She's actually in the room as well. So I figure I should introduce you guys. Hey, Prisca.
Hi, how are you?
I've been listening in the whole time. I didn't realize it was going to be like this. So hi, it's great to meet you. Thanks for all of your advice. I really appreciate it, especially when you mentioned about having like mental breakdowns at home because, you're not used to this type of routine. Like you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm not going anywhere again.
Yeah.
So it's difficult and it's nice to hear from somebody just like say it out loud. Like, oh, this is a little bit, driving us all crazy. And mental health is really important. But also what Chris about efficiency and companies finding really new creative ways to make deals happen, to make sure they close as much as possible. I really do believe in having the right team in place, not just randomly having to work with all these different people, because then that's where, you run into the most problems, I think.
Totally. I actually have a question for you. I mean, how are you guys dealing with closings? How are you guys closing deals right now?
You mean in terms of like physically?
Yes, exactly. So when a closing is scheduled, how are you guys, or is everyone coming into a room together? Or are you guys?
Oh no, we're actually implementing clean closings. So we'll send a closer out to the buyer's property, especially for refinances, and hand the package over. Our closers are wearing PPE, so they'll have masks on, gloves on. They have a stash of sanitizers as well. And then they'll sit in the car and walk the clients through the paperwork over the phone. And they'll wait for the client to be fully satisfied with everything, double check the work, and then take it. So there's very little person-to-person contact. The only part where you would kind of be close to somebody is just checking their verification, like verifying their identities. But even then, that could be done through like a screen door.
Got it.
So
How about on purchases?
purchases is pretty much the same thing. So we're trying to minimize who goes to the closing table and try to get everything done in advance. We even released a video that I could send you guys the link to that you can shoot out to your clients. It basically is one of our top closers breaking down the CD from the first line to the very last line. So that would make the client feel a lot more comfortable and knowledgeable about the paperwork that they're signing.
Interesting.
Yep. So I think that would be really helpful, especially because if it's somebody doing it for the first time, if they're not completely comfortable with everything that they're seeing in front of them, it usually is a little bit more reassuring to have that attorney sit right next to them or have that closer face-to-face explain it. So this way we're trying to give them more information in advance, and then obviously we'll have the closer on the phone with them while they're signing the document.
Got it.
Wow.
How are you dealing with the notary situation? So if usually in a typical day, because we, as a state of New Jersey, we just were able to do e-note, but none of our providers are set up for that, which is what, for everyone that doesn't know what that is, it's a virtual notarized closing. Everything can be done virtually. The problem is right now with notaries, they need to be right there watching you as you sign the documents. What are you guys doing about that to to be able to keep social distancing?
That I can't really, I'm not entirely sure. I do know that the notary needs to physically see the person and be in the presence of that person. In terms of signing the documents, that I might have to defer to Victor Eng. I think he's on. Victor, are you there?
Hey guys, sorry, I unmuted myself. I missed a part of that question. Was this in regards to Ron, the remote notary?
In regards to closings, yeah, and the notary. Kathy, if you could just re-ask.
Sure. So one of the things that we've been challenged with in a lot of cases is that I've had attorneys that are saying that because New Jersey is just passed an e-note, which is basically a notarized a virtual notary, but not a lot of people are set up for that or have the technology. So we have been in the position where some buyers are saying they want to keep their social distancing, and how do we overcome the issue with a notary being present in front of them while they sign certain documents?
Gotcha. I guess just to clarify that it did pass the House and Senate, but it hasn't passed the governor's desk yet.
Yep.
And we're definitely really eagerly awaiting that to happen. And as soon as it's available, I'm sure most title companies will jump on that. But yeah, for now, we, as Prisca was saying about like trying to do things in advance. If we have loan documents in advance, we'll go through them over the phone with the borrower, so that when they're in the presence of our notary, we minimize contact and the length of time they spend together. And again, we also make sure we don't have people that don't necessarily have to be there. So attorneys and realtors, we have a laptop set up if the closing's in our office, so they can zoom in on the call and still watch and still assist the home buyer and support them. But then we encourage them not to physically come to our office.
Got it. But they still have to be in front of a notary. There's no way.
Correct. Yeah, unfortunately, until the governor passes that bill, and we don't know exactly. There's supposed to be a 90-day waiting period even after he passes it. But I know in New York, they fast tracked it and made it temporarily okay to do these remote notary closings right away. So hopefully that happens in New Jersey.
Interesting. So this way, hopefully we don't miss a beat when it comes to closing.
For sure.
All right. Well, does anybody else here have any questions for Cathy or Victor or Prisca or us?
Thank you.
No, but thank you. And thank you for being so honest. It's really like a relief to hear that even people who come off perfect are going through a lot right now too.
Agreed. It's very refreshing.
Cathy is actually perfect for this situation because she's actually been here. She was here during the last recession as well, so she totally understands. And she understands how what it was like to come out of this, and just hearing her from her perspective and having that understanding that having her clarify that, this is actually not really exactly the same, and things could eventually end up being for the better in the long run anyway. So
I
Totally.
love
And
your attitude, Chris.
yeah, and mental health is everything, guys. We always try to put on this perfect picture and, stay positive, but sometimes the reality is when we close our doors behind the scenes, we're all going through the same pain and the concern and the frustration and the fear. So we should be open and upfront about it and, not be afraid to talk about these kinds of things.
Absolutely.
let
I love
me
that.
answer Victor's question. Actually, he asked if we've seen any buyers ask for a price reduction due to the pandemic hitting hitting in the middle of their transaction. As a matter of fact, that has been the case. We've had buyers come in, we've been under contract, and just because of the whole coronavirus happening, they're like, is there any way we could leverage, the coronavirus to try to get a reduction on the property? Maybe we get an extra $10,000 out of it, et cetera, et cetera. It was a case that we just recently ran into, but after they spoke to the attorneys, and the attorney at that particular point clarified that, that's not something they could take advantage of at this particular point, they ended up saying, all right, never mind, it's not an issue.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody for jumping in on this today. This was incredible. This is a lot of fun. Hopefully we can get out of this sooner than later. But if we don't, then we'll definitely do some more of this in the future. We'll keep everybody updated.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Cathy. It's great to meet you
Thanks,
today.
guys.
I'd love to connect with you after this.
Sure, for sure. Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Bye.
Have a good one.